Welcome to the Empowered Aging Podcast. Your host is Michelle, a physical therapist passionate about helping older adults stay active, mobile, and independent. Let's dive into today's topic.
Hello and happy belated World Tai Chi and Qigong Day. Yesterday, being the last Saturday of April, was World Tai Chi and Qigong Day. And I had the honor of attending an event that was hosted by another Tai Chi instructor, Michael Galliano, in the area. And there were other instructors there, and everybody was there to kind of share their practice because everybody teaches something a little bit differently. I would say most of them did seem to focus on the Yang style, short or long form, and I'm kind of the oddball out on that one, odd man out. I teach, for those of you who don't know, the Sun style, and in addition to being Sun style, different than what they are mostly teaching, I also teach a version that I think is really a little modified that was created by Dr. Lam. And he put together various sequences that work on different conditions. The one I teach is good for people with arthritis and fall prevention. But he also has sequences to work with people for diabetes, for cognition, for rehab. So there are different things that different sequences he's put together. So anyway, my point was that mine was a little different. And I have to admit, I felt a little bit out of place in some ways. But then I really needed to kind of think about the fact that my style, my sequence, the one I teach, has great benefit and it has a good place, especially for beginners, which is kind of who I've tailored my practice to, is teaching the seniors who I work with just a different way of doing things, a different way of doing exercise, because there's not just lifting weights, and it's not just about standing on one leg to improve your balance. Tai Chi has really been a great way for me to show people a way to get a lot of benefit out of a relatively simple, not easy, routine. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more today about Tai Chi and Qigong and kind of what it's all about. So first I want to do a little definition. If you Google the difference between Tai Chi and Qigong, you're going to see some various explanations. The one that I kind of gravitate toward is Qigong. I like to think of as kind of a single movement, or very basic movement that is done repeatedly, syncing with breath, to work more on maybe like one skill. You might be focusing a lot on the breath. You might be focusing on the posture. You might focus on one element of Tai Chi. It's great for reducing stress. It's great for balance. It's great for strength. It really does help with all the things that Tai Chi works on, but without having to worry about memorizing a sequence. You do just one or two little moves, and they're usually not complicated and not generally too advanced, though they can be. And so I think it's a great way to just chill, right? I am not a meditator. I find it hard to sit still. So if I need to kind of de-stress, I find Tai Chi or Qigong to be a great way to do that. So Again, Qigong I look at is a kind of a simple movement done repeatedly. Whereas Tai Chi, I look at as multiple movements put together into a sequence. It could be a short sequence, just a few moves, or a ton of movements, 108, all put together. So it's more like a dance. So that's how I kind of distinguish the two. Now, both of those things, both Qigong and Tai Chi, are going to help improve strength, especially in the legs and the core. They're going to help improve flexibility without even thinking about stretching, right? Your joints start becoming more mobile and in a very functional way. Both Tai Chi and Qigong help with posture awareness because you really need to be thinking about where your body is in space. And also about, they both work on walking efficiently, that coordination that we need, because those movements require movement. And that's what Tai Chi and Qigong are all about, movement. And there are so many studies out there that have shown that these practices help with not only movement, balance, strength, and flexibility, but also mood, reduced anxiety and stress, and help us just think better. So you put all that together and you just get all these wonderful things in one practice. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't strength train, doesn't mean you shouldn't do more aerobic activity. I think it's just one element in a good exercise program. Now, again, depending on your Google search, you will find that there are anywhere from 7 to, 12 or 15 principles in Tai Chi. I focus on a few, and they kind of capture several principles maybe put together. The ones I focus in my classes with my students are these. First off, posture, because it is our foundation, right? If we don't have good posture, good core strength, then our movements are not going to be as safe or efficient or smooth. And in Tai Chi, that posture is a strong and upright, and yet not tense. So we talk about suspending the head, kind of self-tractioning ourselves upright. Our shoulders and arms are relaxed though. Our hips are slightly tucked. Our knees are soft. So we're never hyperextended. We never have locked knees. We never have any locked joints in Tai Chi, because that would just increase tension and actually inhibit that flow of energy that goes through us when we're performing this practice. Another principle that I stress a lot is transference of weight. We have to be able to transfer our weight from foot to foot, leg to leg, not only to do Tai Chi, but simply to move. If you think about walking, every time we take a step, we have to shift our weight onto one leg in order to free up the other leg to step forward. Anytime we reach for something, we have to shift our weight. When we go to stand up, we're shifting our weight from seated to standing. So everything we do has to do with weight transference. And as people age, oftentimes they become more reluctant to shift their weight. They're scared of falling. But if we don't shift our weight, it's really hard to take that step because you haven't unweighted the leg. You still have weight on it. So that's when you start seeing those really rushed steps because they're just barely getting weight off, and then they can't move that leg very far, so it becomes a really short step. And that whole spiraling effect. So it really makes someone more likely to fall because they're not shifting their weight appropriately. So every time you climb stairs, we got to shift the weight, right? You can't move effectively without shifting your weight. But again, it becomes more scary as we age. Another principle we talk about in class is moving against a sense of internal resistance. When we are lifting weights, right, we obviously have a resistance that we're lifting against. But we can also create our own internal resistance. I can bend my arm and pretend that I have a weight, tensing those muscles as if I'm lifting a heavy weight. And I can really get a great internal resistance there. I can push against something, against nothing, and yet be tensing my muscles as if I have a weight. Now, in Tai Chi and Qigong, we're not looking to be pushing against heavy weight, just gently. I like to use the imagery of water, as if I'm standing in deeper water, maybe up to my chest or so, and pressing my hands into the water as I move, stepping through water as I move. If you want to push a little bit more, you can think about honey, but really that idea is kind of disgusting to me. So I think about water. But anyway, that's the idea of pushing against that gentle resistance. And that also helps that movement to become a little more fluid and smooth. Because if you're just kind of flopping around, it really just doesn't have that same flow. And we also don't have that good flow of energy going through us. And then the last real principle that I really like to focus on is the dantian, which is that center of mass right below your navel. That's where the center of mass is. In therapy, we talk about that being your center of mass and how it dictates where you are. And in Tai Chi, that's your center that's going to help steer you in whatever direction you're going. So it's not just your legs that are going to take you to that next step, but we want this core to initiate movement. And once students kind of start to learn how to incorporate that, they are able to get that smoother motion. It makes such a difference in the flow when you start leading with that dantian, that center of mass. And that also translates to posture, because if you're leading with your center of mass, then your posture tends to be more upright, as opposed to leading with maybe your shoulders and you start leaning into things, and then you're off balance. And you're actually, you're kind of feeling unsteady and you don't feel as sure in your footing. So center of mass is really huge. So that all kind of comes together into the concept of yin and yang, which is that idea of opposite forces that are interconnected and they need each other. So if you think about the effort of Tai Chi, while at the same time, the relaxation that we get when we do the forms. We're stable, and yet we're moving. Some things are still while we're moving. So there are kind of opposite forces there in play, which is kind of a beautiful thing. So you can't have one without the other. Tai Chi has really taught me a lot. And when I first was learning Tai Chi, it was challenging. Not just the movements themselves, not learning the sequence. Yes, that was all very challenging. I think the hardest thing for me was slowing down. I have always been one to move fast. I like aerobics, moving, 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 and slowing down to the pace of my instructor was difficult. But it really helped me to bring even more awareness to my body. As a physical therapist, I am very aware of my body, but this brought another layer to that. Not only was I feeling the pressure through my feet as I took those slower steps, but I was also more aware of my core, my posture, every movement of my hands and my arms, and how they interacted, and how in some moves, one arm has to move further than the other, and yet end and start and end at the same time. And so there's that whole coordination. One has to move a little faster than the other so that they start and end at the same time. And this requires a lot of awareness. Feeling where your feet are so that when you go to weight shift, you're ready. Placing your foot in such a way that it sets you up for the next movement. All of these things require thought and awareness. But then once you start learning it, it doesn't take as much thought. It becomes more muscle memory, and your body starts to do what it needs to do with less actual cognitive thinking. It's just really a beautiful practice. And, I'm relatively young to this whole practice. And after the event yesterday, I did before, but it just kind of cinched it. I'm always wanting to learn more, and I want to go deeper into the practice and the principles and learning new forms so that I can get the most out of it. There is just so much to learn. You can learn one sequence and still not know just but an inkling of the whole thing. There's just so much depth in it. You can do Tai Chi on a just very shallow basis, just going through the dance and enjoying it for what it is, or you can dig deep into the movements and what they're all about. So anyway, that's my spiel about Tai Chi and Qigong. I think it's a great thing to incorporate into a routine as an addition to other forms of exercise. I think it's also a great thing for seniors to do. You can do it sitting down. So even if you're not sure about your balance, you're afraid you're going to fall, start in a seated position. You start learning how to move your body, bringing awareness to your posture in sitting. You can work on all of those principles that I just mentioned in a seated position, which you can then translate to standing if you feel comfortable doing so. There are a lot of different ways of modifying the practice so that it works for you. So I hope it's something that you will give a try to. I do teach at the local Y here, Spears YMCA, and I incorporate some Tai Chi into my classes here at the studio. So if you're interested in kind of a beginner level, I'm happy to help with you there. If you're already well into your practice, but aren't familiar with Sun style, you still can learn something from my sequence. But there are other instructors out there. If you haven't tried Tai Chi or Qigong yet, particularly Tai Chi, Qigong you could do online. You can get quite a bit out of it. But if you're looking for truly Tai Chi, learning a sequence, I think being in a live class is really the way to go. Not only do you get more of that one-on-one attention where the instructor can help you get those moves just right, but there's something about that group energy when we all start to move together in synchronicity. It's just feels so neat, and you can just kind of feel that energy going through the group. So anyway, that's my spiel. I hope you guys will try it out. It's not for everybody, and I completely understand that. But you don't know until you try it. Just give it a try. That's all I have to say. So anyway, I stay tuned for some videos. I will try to include some other Qigong and Tai Chi moves. You can find those in my video library, and I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us today. If this episode helped you learn something new, we hope you'll share it with someone who could benefit as well. Until next time, keep moving, stay strong, and take care of your body.